A project manager needs to ensure that progress is made on the project while controlling the internal and external influences that may affect the project outcome. In this lesson, we'll discuss the process that helps the project manager control what's happening in the project, the Monitor and Control Project Work process. The Monitor and Control Project Work process is a continuous evaluation done during the course of the whole project at regular intervals to make sure the project is progressing and moving in the right direction. When monitoring and controlling, the project is being evaluated against the project management plan. The main purpose of these evaluations is to determine if the project's objectives still make sense. Monitoring and controlling is done by tracking, reviewing, and regulating the progress of the project, determining if the project's objectives are being achieved, and deciding what, if any, actions need to be taken in order to put the project back on track. The first input into this process is the project management plan, as it's the framework for the whole project. All the data and metrics will be measured against the plan, and adherence to the plan determines the overall health of the project. Schedule forecasts are the project and task durations that have been determined using formulas that include estimated time to complete, schedule variances, and schedule performance indexes. We'll touch on these formulas in the time management knowledge area. Similar to schedule forecasts, cost forecasts are estimations that use formulas to estimate associated costs that align with the overall budget and within any budgetary constraints. When any changes to the plan have been approved and implemented, they need to be validated in order to make sure that in fact they were implemented. Validated changes are also a way of checking to see if the change is having the desired effect on the project. Validation is important since a project manager wants to make sure the change has had a positive effect on the project and to keep track of any residual effects that may have an impact on the project plan. Work performance information is data that has been analyzed and has context added to it. In other words, it's not just rows of numbers and information, it's how those numbers and information affect the project, and it's used as a basis for decision-making during the execution of the project. Enterprise environmental factors and organizational process assets are things like federal regulations and quality standards that are all external factors that can have a significant impact on the monitoring and controlling processes. If during the execution of a construction project, the Environmental Protection Agency creates a regulation that designates the land being used as an environmentally sensitive area, this enterprise environmental factor can have a huge impact on the scope and even the viability of the project. If something like this does occur, the project manager can use organizational process assets like historical documents to examine the lessons learned from previous similar projects. This will help the project manager to determine a suitable course of action that will satisfy all the involved stakeholders. The first tool and technique in the Monitor and Control Project Work process is expert judgment. Anytime changes need to be made, it's always a good idea to consult with someone who can provide some sound advice. Why should a project manager make his own mistakes? It's better to learn from the mistakes of others who have already been there and done that. Analytical techniques are used to predict possible outcomes and the impact of changes to the plan. This includes any simulations that are run to forecast what may happen if a certain action is taken or not taken. Project management information systems help to automate certain processes and makes it easy to retrieve information when that information is needed. Decisions on a project are not made in a vacuum. Meetings are necessary to ensure that the project management team and relevant stakeholders are aware of what's happening, what needs to happen, and how everything is going on the project. The outputs of the monitor and control project work process include change requests. Change requests are an output to many of the project management processes, and this one is no exception. It makes sense that since this process is all about monitoring and controlling the project work and the project plan, many of the changes that will need to be made will be generated during this process. Work performance reports are documents that provide work performance information. They are a representation of the data that has been generated and are used to make decisions and promote awareness. A status report on the staffing levels of the project is a general example of a work performance report. Anytime a change has been approved, project management plan updates need to be completed in order to reflect this change. Just like plan updates, project document updates to any logs or forecasts need to be revised in order to keep track of all the changes made during the project. The focus of the monitor and control project work process is on identifying any variances from the project management plan and to carry out problem solving in order to determine corrective and preventative actions. The monitor and control project work process helps the project manager find the root cause of these variances so they can successfully manage the time, cost, and scope of the project.